Team Next Fest is back! And a bunch of us at Second Wind wanted to share what demos got us most hyped for upcoming games.
The Knightling is a big and cheery 3D platformer from Twirlbound, set in an expansive fantasy world that sees you take control of an apprentice knight, who wields a talking, gear-shaped shield just as big as you are. The shield is the core of your combat and movement abilities, letting you slide down hills, bounce high off some surfaces, and of course, throw it at stuff like Captain America. Combat is a little sluggish, but I do love the weighty feel of your slender little knight swinging a massive shield into the face of their aggressor. The animation work and the feeling of movement is extremely well done, and taking a peek at some of the upgraded ability options teases some Mario levels of advanced techniques buried beneath the surface. The demo has a good mix of charming quests from personable characters, and a variety of locales to visit with light puzzle challenges. It's a hefty trial. I played for over an hour without yet reaching the end of what was available, so don't hesitate to give it a shot yourself. I'm definitely adding it to my wishlist.
A mystery dungeon RPG clearly replicating the style of the original Resident Evil seemed silly enough to give it a download. What I got was 2 straight hours of tense battles, risk-reward inventory management, and learning a variety of enemy attack patterns so I could make it to the next room. House of Necrosis is the only demo that after beating it, I continued playing, so I could experiment with the things I hadn't tried yet. It's much more than a silly mashup of familiar game mechanics, and it's my favorite demo I played over Next Fest.
I didn't realize how much I had wanted a chill, Breath of the Wild-esque open world that I could just leisurely explore while riding my haunted bicycle until I played Wheel World, the latest game from Nidhogg developer Messhoff and publisher Annapurna Interactive. Wheel World's demo immediately grabbed me with its delightful vibes, gorgeous setting, and welcoming sense of exploration. Within minutes of becoming pals with an ancient cycling spirit, I was bombing down hills and going wherever my wheels might take me. I befriended a gang of local hoodlums after beating them in a race thanks to the ability to gain boost by drifting directly behind another rider. After that, I popped down to the beach and found some new gear to upgrade my bike, pointing to a game that immediately rewarded my curiosity. And after that, I just spent some time soaking in the excellent pastel vibes complete with a banging soundtrack by Italians Do It Better. I'm a sucker for a setting with a strong sense of place that I could just vibe out to, and Wheel World looks like it'll deliver just that when it drops later this summer on PC, PS5, and Xbox via Game Pass.
Nitro Express from Playism is a 2D side-scrolling shoot-'em-up in the vein of Contra or Metal Slug that wears its 90s anime influences on its sleeve. It stars 2 irresponsibly young operatives of an experimental task force that uses heavy weapons to take down rogue robots and machinery. I actually played it during PAX West and really loved its style and humor, which instantly reminded me of shows I had no business watching in my youth, like Burn Up W or Gunslinger Girl. Its gun combat feels deliberately slowed to make you juggle between managing the clips in your weapons, where your aim is trained, and your positioning to avoid hails of bullets and explosions on screen with jumps and rolls. Sadly, its Next Fest demo is the same small snippet I played at PAX that takes you through training in a fairly short mission ending in a boss fight against an APC. So I didn't get to see anything deeper than my initial impression, which got me intrigued in the first place. It still works as a good first impression though, even the second time around.
The OG Gothic is a charming, janky, unpolished mess of a gem that I couldn't finish. It has a sense of humor most fantasy games lack without going whole hog into comedy. It also had a wealth of ideas it was trying, even if most of them weren't fully realized. To my surprise, that charm and humor are present in the Remake's demo. The controls are sluggish, handling like what I think a 3D cinematic platformer would, but engaging writing and an interesting world made me curious about the remake for the same reasons I was interested in the original. I just hope the nesting doll style fetch quests will not return.
Centum is a narrative-driven point-and-click adventure game developed by Hack the Publisher and published by Serenity Forge. Its demo is also one of the weirdest things I've played in quite a while, and I say that as something of a weird game enthusiast. You begin on an old desktop interface full of cryptic files and vaguely ominous notes, one of which urges you to launch a specific program as the simulation must never stop running, and any disruptions will inevitably have fatal consequences. Clicking on the shortcut in question transports you to a cell containing a handful of interactable objects, some ordinary and some of unknown origin and purpose. With almost no context as to who, where, or why you are, you're left to assume that you're trapped here and your goal is to escape. Or is it? You're not alone, either. There's a small cast of unsettling NPCs to engage with, such as this hideously humanoid, snot and saliva-dripping rat thing. But they all offer far more questions than answers. As if this wasn't jarring enough, you're occasionally tossed headfirst into an arcade-style minigame, or presented with a list of dialogue options that feel equally consequential and inscrutable. After finishing the demo, my honest assessment is that I have absolutely no idea whether I'll enjoy the full game, but I'm certainly intrigued enough to find out. Centum's tagline is, "Every why has a wherefore," and I'll be searching for the wherefores to complement all the whys on its March 11th release date.
HASTE Broken Worlds from Landfall is a game that's caught my attention anytime it's popped up on my social media feed. It's a colorful, blindingly fast platformer that has you speeding through procedurally generated landscapes filled with hills, gaps, and various hazards to navigate with quick reflexes. The minimal control scheme lets you accelerate to lightning speed at the push of a button, and extend your airtime with a rocket surfboard, but funnily enough, has a fall button instead of a jump. As you'll soar off inclines, it needs to time your descent to smoothly align with terrain to preserve momentum. It's like a far more hyperactive version of XO1. HASTE also employs roguelike elements, which introduce passive and active abilities that can help on a run, like invincibility on a perfect landing or boosting acceleration speed at the cost of control. Its node highway is a little lackluster visually, and doesn't present many choices between lanes that felt meaningful, at least in the first area on offer. That said, the inventive challenges thrown into the short levels were very fun. I had to race against time to fill in a large gray map in one challenge and dodge an orbital barrage of lasers in another. The exhilarating boss fight at the end of the demo has you chase down and crash into a giant robot while dodging roaming fire pits and missiles. It's an easily addictive and zen-inducing gameplay loop that I look forward to playing a lot more of, but please, it's nothing like Sonic the Hedgehog. HASTE Broken Worlds is actually good.
The best atmosphere in horror games comes from a delicate mix of visuals, sound, animation, and lighting. Everything needs to fit a style and a quality cohesion, and knocking even one of those out of alignment can quickly turn it from creepy to campy. Post-trauma finds that balance. Before I ever encountered an enemy, I felt the tension of being trapped in an unfamiliar and unwelcoming environment. The lack of jump scares allowed the strangeness to seep in and be far more haunting than a sudden loud noise could. Lackluster enemy design and very video gamey puzzles definitely tarnished an otherwise good experience, but not enough to stop me from wanting to try the whole game when it releases later this year.
This one's a cheat, but there's no laws when it comes to Next Fest recommendations, so I'm smuggling a few games into this single blurb. Gun to my head, I think that colorful collectathon 3D platformers are my favorite genre in all of gaming, and I played a trio of rad demos that all harken back to various classics of the genre's history, each with twists of their own. First up is Demon Tides, the follow-up to 2021's Demon Turf. But what separates this sequel is the clear inspiration it takes from Bowser's Fury, which is evident the moment you finish the tutorial and set out into the vast blue ocean. The platforming challenges scattered as far as the eyes can see are paired perfectly with an expressive movement kit that will undoubtedly become a speedrunner's dream. Next up is Ruffy and the Riverside, and while the core movement feels much more basic than Demon Tides, it makes up for it in the form of a single clever mechanic. Ruffy is this little Ewok-looking dude who's able to copy and paste various textures in the world. Say you want to get to the top of this waterfall. All you have to do is copy this shrub over here, paste it over the water, and voila, a climbable surface. The possibilities for interesting puzzles and platforming challenges are endless here, so I am stoked to see what the final game has to offer. And last but not least is Kero Quest 64, which might not have the dense movement or single standout mechanic of the previous two games, but it makes up for that in the sheer Nintendo 64 era charm. The game looks and feels so much like Banjo-Kazooie, which is nothing but a compliment in my book. The environments in the demo have a nice variety to them, including this plaza that is giving off some real Station Square from Sonic Adventure vibes. Also, this frog looks goofy as hell, and I think I might love him.
The Deadly Path is a neat little base management, tower defense, deck building roguelike amalgamation developed by Owlskip Enterprises and published by Fireshine Games. Described by the developer as an easy-to-pick-up but tricky-to-master game loop, the overarching objective of the Deadly Path is to appease your chosen dread deity and assist in their ascension by growing a base, accumulating resources, and defending the throne room from raiding enemies. The central throne room is surrounded by an ever-expanding grid of entombed tiles to excavate and build various structures upon. For example, Ancient Remains tiles allow you to assemble scavenger huts or carving spits, which yield a steady supply of bones or meat, respectively, until the area is depleted. The deity consumes a portion of your resource stockpile after every 40-second upkeep cycle, and your facilities, as well as the servants that staff them, also have individual maintenance costs. You're allowed to miss quota on a single upkeep cycle, but after that, failing to generate enough resources to keep the base operational before carrying out your dreadful god's demands means your run has reached its end. I played an early version of the Deadly Path 2 years ago, and I was pleased to see that the current demo incorporates some much-needed quality of life features, as well as new opportunities for customization, such as charms and custodians that provide unique buffs and advantages for each run. I'm looking forward to seeing what the full game delivers on its March 25th release date.
With eye-catching visuals, great music, responsive controls, and a story about fighting against an authoritarian leader and their followers, which for some reason is very appealing right now, Reignbreaker has the bones of an enjoyable roguelike. After an hour of play, it's clear it needs some work. Each run felt too similar due to a lack of enemy types, only a few attack varieties, and upgrades mostly being passive or numerical increases I never really felt. However, the fully voice-acted interactions with NPCs were different each time and began unfolding a story I was just starting to get interested in. While I'm not sure it will be my jam, I'm interested enough to keep an eye on it. If you're hyped for a game in Next Fest we didn't cover, let us know in the comments. We want to know about more games. And if you enjoyed this roundup of recommendations, consider joining our Patreon. Thanks for watching!